And welcome to tomorrow. My name is Jamie Higginbotham. I am exhausted, and to my let's see here. This is my left, but I'm pointing right. Is a Jared Head, and to my whichever way this is, the other way is a Ryan Caden. And oh my goodness, what an incredible week! This is technically a call-in show. Having said that, I know no one ever likes to call in, but if you want to, and just to geek out, if you look in the description, there is a link to the EV Mug stuff and you can call in and have your own voice. And I thought it'd be fun. It's not often that a experimental rocket of this. This is kind of one of those once in a life. Not, I don't want to call it once in a lifetime, but the last time I think we had rockets of this caliber being tested was the Apollo era, right? Like, and now we've got the Space Launch System, which is like an Apollo class, Apollo, a Saturn V class type rocket, right? A super crazy, super ultra heavy lift rocket. We've got Starship, which is a super ultra heavy lift rocket. Blue Eula is working on potentially a super. Oh, so Blue Eula. So if Blue and ULA merge, I'll call them Blue Eula. It's like Dracula, but with Blue and ULA. So Blue Eula are working on a
Blah.
super heavy Blue, right? Blue Eula, right? Would have a super ultra heavy lift rocket. And so it's just, I don't know. I think it's a very inspiring and amazing time to be alive. Um, I am beyond exhausted. So I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and Jared. I'm going to try to kind of keep my camera on. Obviously, I can't talk about Company X stuff due to my relationship with the company, but I can tell you about like my emotions and my feelings. I can't tell you much about. I can't go into anything company specific, but like I can talk about my experiences. But I thought we would start with let's start with Jared because Jared is barking.
Yes, my dogs are just as excited as I am about this. It spreads in this household. But yeah, so fun thing about that, my experience for this launch was catching the replay because I was not feeling well, so I slept. I chose sleep over that. But boy, am I. Yeah, I know, I know. Boy, am I upset that I decided not to watch it live because it looked absolutely spectacular. The views were great. It was everything that as an engineer I've wanted to see. And I can only imagine what the actual engineering footage, the non public side stuff, looks like based upon just how good the public facing side images looked.
You
That
will have to
tracking
continue to imagine.
Oh, that tracking shot of hot staging with super heavy flipping as fast as it did, as agile as it was, blew my mind. Like I was just trying to remind myself that like this thing is taller than a like it's a whole Falcon 9 and it's just like whoop like in a couple seconds and just man, it just I was so jazzed about that. I'm super happy to see the results of everything. It looks like a lot of the big issues that happened during IFT1 appear to be solved. Obviously, it would be great to have a second flight that shows that those have been solved. Now it's probably a whole new set of big issues that have to be figured out. But also, that's what test flights are for. So really cool to see such a resounding success in the changes of things that were made. Now on to new changes for what will hopefully be IFT3 sometime next year. So yeah, I'm I just cannot I could not get enough of that. So yeah,
Awesome. We
more
actually
more please.
we do have. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing this correctly. Sakura's light. There we go. So, Jerry, Dud, I'm sorry, I took control so that we can go into dynamic scenes. But yeah, welcome. What was your experience like?
Hiya. I loved it. I was up. I get up early because I work here uh, for the council here over in Norfolk, not too far away from Ryan himself. And I was up 4 a.m. Had all the video streams going, listening to the audio in my van. Got to 1 o'clock, and it was amazing. The ramp up from everybody was ecstatic. I loved it. It was better than the first test flight. Is indescribable almost.
How was it? How is it, in your opinion, better than the first test flight? Like, obviously, the flight itself was better.
Yeah, the flight lasted longer.
Really
It
good.
was I think everyone knew what was going to happen. They had a more cohesive idea of what would happen. They could explain it better. There was a lot more people around as well. There was a lot more people watching the streams about on the internet that I saw as well, and everyone seemed to be more excited as well because they knew it was going to go better than the last one. They were hoping that the whole stage zero and everything would survive, that everything would go so much better, and it did, and everyone seemed to enjoy it very thoroughly.
What do you think? What are you excited for Flight 3? Right,
Ooh.
like because like Flight 2, what seconds away from orbit, right? So Flight 3, what are you
Yeah,
excited for there?
I definitely want to see it make well. If they go for orbit, make orbit. If not, suborbital, make it to Hawaii. Test the heat shields, the tough rock or whatever they call it. And I hope they get all the data from that, and then beyond that, refueling up in orbit and beyond is definitely a new step on the way to space.
How about so Ryan? How about you? Like, we haven't really talked to you too much. Like, what are your thoughts?
My thought. So I was submixing a feed for NSF, and I had pretty much every single robotic camera we had out in the field in front of me, and it was kind of like, wait, it launched because this is the first attempt for to intend to launch for this vehicle ever. No test vehicle launches on the first attempt that it intends to launch. That just doesn't happen. That's just impossible. And yet it happened. So I'm seeing this thing lift off in front of me, and I'm just in utter disbelief that it's actually launching. And I've been up all night. Emotions are out the window. It's just happening at this point. It's like, okay, I guess it's flying now, and it just kept going uphill, and we had all the engines. That plume was just the plume was beautiful. The way that all of the engines were interacting with each other. I don't think that there has been a first stage flight this successful with that many engines like ever in history. The N1, its first stage engines would die off. The Flight 1, its first stage engines died off. Flight 2, it was just that booster did like an exceptional job all the way up to hot staging, which again was spectacular to see and utterly unbelievable that it actually worked first time. Like, it released it. So I think, in my opinion, every little thing that the headline items that went wrong with Flight 1, which was the launch pad got absolutely demolished by the engines from Super Heavy. Super Heavy itself didn't work. The engines were cutting out. The hydraulics were spluttering into a million pieces of confetti, and there was no staging whatsoever. The launch pad is still intact. It's a bit toasty, but what do you expect? It's the most powerful rocket in history. It's toasty, and one of the tank shells, I think, like a water tank shell, was dented even more by the shockwave, but there was no flying concrete. All the cameras are intact. The booster, all 33 engines successfully fired from launch to stage set, and the fact that the ship actually disconnected from the booster, ignited all 6 of its Raptors, and carried on going for like 8 minutes into flight. I mean, compared to IFT1, this is just an exceptional launch for Flight 2. And now we can clearly see that there are some things that need to be worked on for Flight 3, like the booster FTS'd or exploded, the ship FTS'd or exploded. So it's quite clear how SpaceX has managed to rapidly innovate on what went wrong with Flight 1 for Flight 2. Like, it's so clear, it's so obvious the success of Flight 2, because you can point out everything that went wrong with Flight 1 and it worked perfectly on Flight 2. Obviously, we want more flights to make sure it wasn't a fluke, but like, that's pretty impressive how you can just take everything that was ticked off on Flight 1 worked perfectly or pretty much perfectly for Flight 2. Now we just need the ships to stop really being glorified nose cones and for the development to kind of shift off that way a bit.
So I'll repeat again for anyone who wants to join. I think it's a lot of fun to join in on the live show. Hit the link in the description. Open up the EV add your voice. Tell us why you're excited about it. Let's geek out over Flight 2. There was an earlier comment talking about let's see here. Oh, it was the Godzilla comment. So for those who watch the webcast, I had absolutely nothing to do with this webcast. I had no idea what the content was. I don't want to say I had nothing to do because I do run the voice and video team. So like we had cameras out there, but I had no idea what they were going to do in this particular webcast. And so then when I saw that, when I saw that Godzilla pop out, like as a unit of measurement, I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was a stroke of genius, and I love that the media team was willing to have a little bit of fun with it. I thought that was pretty cool. I was on console. Well, I was console adjacent, right? So my team was on console, and I was kind of behind them supporting. And so, obviously I can't talk anything about that, but I do remember, we're at T minus 20 seconds or so, and so I'm. I kind of get up and I stand kind of in the back corner because the windows in that building are not great. In the back corner, and I have my iPhone up because in this particular control room, there's no other cameras recording it. I'm like, oh, I should record this, and so I'm recording everyone, and it's like the view and everything. And the vehicle lifts off the pad, and I'm like, oh my god, this is incredible. And the sound wave hits the building, and you're like, whoa, this is a powerful rocket. And then and then to my left, so we're just surrounded by screens, right? And one of the screens off and just out of my view to the left is the webcast. And so I look over to the webcast and I look at the graphics, and all of the engines are lit up on the graphic. And I think to myself, uh-oh, the telemetry that drives the graphics is disconnected, or there's a bad telemetry feed making it into the graphics. And so then I look down at the stage 0 interface and I see all engines firing, and then I whip back up to the screen, and they had just cut to one of the tracking shots where you can clearly see all 33 engines firing. And if this video ever gets released, I think you can hear me actually like whoop, like I give out a whoop. I'm like, woo! Because I realize that all the engines are still going. I'm like, we could do this. And that was like the first moment of realization for me, where I was like, this is incredible. And then hot staging, like saw that, saw the telemetry come in, and I'm like, oh my god, we did it. And like the cheer in the control room, it was pretty quiet. Like liftoff was kind of muted because again, you're in the control room, right? It's not you don't really have a moment, at least not in that control room, to like cheer liftoff because you're focused on everything. Once you're off the pad and you're kind of in a safe area, you kind of like you can unclench ever so slightly. You're still clenchy, but you can kind of unclench slightly, and so you relax just a little bit. And then hot staging happened, and like just the pent up. A lot of us have been awake for. I was going on 24 hours, 25 hours at that point, and so you just can't help yourself. And the room erupted in cheer, absolutely erupted in cheering. And it's the most hilarious cheering ever, because it's like all of this emotion in cheering and everything coming out all at once, and then realizing, wait, no, I got to take a look at my telemetry. So it's like, woo! It was really loud and really intense and really short. Right, everyone right back onto console again, and then
Yay!
Booster is not.
Yeah, exactly. And then we go back, we go back in, and like stage 2 is going, and we're like, everything's looking fantastic. This is looking great, and then it's like just seconds from orbit. It was emotional. It was amazing. It was felt the raw power of Starship, or Super Heavy specifically. You just felt it. It was shaking the building. The whole, like, all of the, like, everything was like, right? It was amazing, and just like, you are humbled by the power of this rocket. It is really, really cool. I also had an opportunity, because I'm down here at Starbase. There's a mock-up, not like you get to walk inside of like the Starship living area. We've got that kind of over in I forget actually where it's located, but it's here at Starship. And we don't normally have it open up, but kind of as a celebration, I got to walk into that. And for those who are Doctor Who fans, it is very much so like a TARDIS, right? Like you look at the rocket and you're like, that's pretty big, but like I don't know, like feels like it's going to be kind of cramped in there. And then you walk inside of this thing, it's massive. It is so hard to describe the scale of this vehicle until you literally step inside of it, and then your brain breaks. When you step outside it again, and it's so big, at least my brain can't comprehend how big it is. It's amazing. I am beyond excited for the future. Let's talk about the future now that I've got rambled on for a hot minute. Um, yeah, Ika, as Ika says, 9 meters across is big. It is
Yeah.
huge,
I
huge.
don't know if you could see. I brought up the first scale. I've got both of them ready to go. If you want to take a look at them,
Okay. Oh yeah,
just to give you
yeah.
some screen
This
sharing them
video.
with you there. So yeah, so that's the first one, right? So Starship is a Statue of Liberty. Super Heavy is literally a whole Falcon 9 itself. And then comes our favorite one, right? Because we were all talking about this one. It's gonna take me a little bit of time to get this up for you here. So give me a moment.
Oh, I was typing. I was doing show things. Then we went back.
Yeah, sorry. But I got to switch out, and then I gotta say, as a kaiju enthusiast myself, or what was
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
oh,
I loved that
here's
so much.
here was that epic shot that they had. So yeah, that was a
There-
great for scale.
It
I
had. I was gonna say, it had sound effects too. Right? It was like, as I walked across the screen. I love that so much. It was so great. It was so great.
Everyone loves Mecha Godzilla.
So why don't we talk? Let's talk about the future, right? So, if Flight 2, I think, um, yeah, like, what do you guys think the future is going to look like with regards to Flight 3 and beyond? Um, Donna, actually, we haven't heard from you too much, and it's a call-in show, so you get to talk now. Ha!
I I'm talking about the future. I don't know. It's I
All
don't
right.
doubt SpaceX's ability,
Well, hang on,
and
hang on. We never
they'll
talked to
get
you
they'll
about.
get
We
there
never talked to you
eventually.
about your experiences either. So why don't? Wait. Did we?
So no, I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I watched little snippets on as cruising through Twitter and a couple YouTube things about it, but it's just the visuals for me, dude, are fantastic. The 33 engines, the giant explosion at the end. Um, I mean, big boom, exciting. Um, the hot staging, I mean, just gorgeous visuals from all of this, and I don't know the source of all of them, so I apologize if I'm not attributing proper credit, but both in concert with what SpaceX was collecting, and all the people that were there, with their own equipment, broadcasting on their own. Um, Thanks for collecting all of that and sharing with the world, but just it's hard to, even from all of that imagery, it's hard to understand the scale of this thing. To be fair, Godzilla has been very, very many different sizes throughout the years, so it's kind of a weird metric to be measuring a spaceship by. But Jared's graphic with the Statue of Liberty and a Falcon 9 kind of puts it in perspective, because it's even harder to understand how big those are.
Ika says Godzilla should have been holding an SLS or a Saturn V for reference. Or like chewing on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Godzilla. All right, so forward looking. Ryan, have we talked to you about forward? We haven't talked to you about forward looking yet, right? What do you think about
No,
Flight 3?
I think so far, I'm no offense to Ship 24 and Ship 25, but they have been glorified nose cones. They're both from the same sort of development version, if you will, Ship 24 and Ship 25, kind of like siblings, really. So I wasn't really expecting anything spectacular in terms of, a perfect heat shield, perfect flight from them. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting them to act as a nice nose cone for the booster to launch with on top. Ship 28, however, the next ship coming down the pipeline, has a lot of big and significant upgrades compared to Ship 24 and 25. In my opinion, Ship 28 is to 24 and 25 what Booster 9 is to Booster 7. We saw how Booster 7 did a terrible job at its job during Flight 1 and how Booster 9 just did it perfectly. Ship 28, if the transition from Booster 7 to Booster 9 is anything to go by, I think Ship 28 is going to do a fantastic job of where Ship 25 failed, which was, exploding. So Ship 28, with all of its new electrical systems and whatnot, and hopefully as they keep learning to work with the heat shield tiles, hopefully they get a bit more sticky and less prone to falling off. Hopefully Ship 28 will be able to stick that suborbital trajectory around the Earth all the way around to Hawaii, a long way around. I think, honestly, if Booster 10 does the exact same perfect job that Booster 9 did, I think Ship 28 has a 85% plus chance of actually getting to Hawaii.
That's better than. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's
I
kind
mean, this latest flight has really changed my perspective on it. Flight 1, I was like, okay, this is going to be like 50-50 odds for staging for a very long time. Flight 2, this has changed my perspective on it entirely. I think Hawaii in Flight 3 is entirely possible now, with Ship 28 and Booster 10 being the latest in the development path.
let's head over to Jared. What do you think the future's like? And then Jack is like, call in if you want me. Absolutely. Everyone should call in. Hit the link in the description. Let's get as many people in on the show talking about your experience during Starship Flight 2, what you think the future looks like for Flight 3. And after we have Flight 3, I'm going to start talking. I think I want to hear your predictions for Mars, Moon, beyond. Like, what does this all look like for all of that? Because I think it's really exciting. And Jax, how do you? There's a link in the description. Click the link. So, Jared, what's your thought process?
So my thought process on it is that IFT3 is going to have to answer some of the really big questions that we now have from IFT2. Those very big questions to me are, first of all, there are a multitude of photos of Starship showing the absolutely epic amount of tile loss on it. So something has to be done about retaining and keeping those tiles on the vehicle. I saw a lot of people hand waving it by saying it's just a prototype, but yes, you should still have things as correct as possible on your prototypes. Space Shuttle Enterprise was also a prototype, right? So I mean, and it still did its job, what it was supposed to do. So you really need to make sure that you get these things online. So I'm really hoping that we can see some big progress made with the tiles on that there. I'm also very interested as to what happened to Booster 9 to cause the automated flight termination system to start. When I was watching, if I could go frame by frame with it, it looked like it coughed out a couple wads of something and then terminated. So nobody public side knows what's going on in terms of why that automated flight termination system did. So anybody who today 24 hours later saying that they know exactly what it is absolutely lying to your face about it, because I'm sure even the folks at SpaceX still have to go through a data review and figure out all these things, and that takes time to digest. These are not things that are going to happen very, very quickly. And also I'm really interested to see what happened with Starship as well. What was the problem that ended up you're seconds away from being able to make uh, enough velocity in order for you to actually get to where you needed to go, but didn't work out. So we'll have to see. Speculation runs rampant, but of course I'm always much happier to hear from the actual companies involved with that. So I feel like IFT2 took care of all of the questions of IFT1, and then now we have a whole new set of big questions to answer for IFT3.
Thank you very much,
So,
Jared. And we have Andy joining us as well. So, Andy, why don't we just start with what was your experience like? Oh, you'll have to unmute your microphone as well. But what was your experience like for Flight 2? What was that like?
You're going to laugh. My experience was that I couldn't see the whole thing at all
Oh,
during the live stream because I was relying on Starlink, and for some reason, as the number of concurrent views of the Everyday Astronaut stream got higher and higher, the amount of video data I was getting dropped until eventually it froze completely. And so I was literally on voice comms with all the other Everyday Astronaut moderators, listening to them telling me what was going on so that I could update the graphics console on the screen. That's how absurd it was. So if you saw a little thing saying it's on hold or we're waiting a new countdown on the Everyday Astronaut stream, that was me doing it completely blind, relying on other people's information. So I've been watching it back today, finding out what I missed.
how'd you do?
And
How'd you do?
It was a bit stressful, but the experience was incredible to be part of something that was getting hundreds of thousands of viewers, even if I wasn't one of them, live, was incredible. I don't know how many people the official SpaceX stream had. I don't know how many people the NASA spaceflight stream had, but I know that Everyday Astronaut peaked at over 280,000 live views.
Ryan, do you know what NSF had? Were you tracking that concurrent?
I think we're approximately the same, and I know that NSF's concurrent. No flex, Jamie, but NSF's concurrent for the entire duration of SpaceX's broadcast was above SpaceX's concurrent. So it's quite obvious that people no longer want to go to the company's official feed. They want to go to the community feed. So I think that precedent has now been set.
Right, that's what happened, Ryan. That's exactly what
it
is, Ryan.
I gotta say, my favorite bit, Ryan, was that I got to watch yours in 4K. But even when I was just now doing the replay in order to get the Mecha Godzilla screenshots, I was still getting 480p. So I don't know what's going on with that. So,
yeah,
I enjoyed each pixel of a raptor being able to see that it was operating. So,
thanks, guys. This is fantastic. Heart. Oh, I got the hearts. I forgot about that. All right, Andy. How about your vision of the future? Like, what do you think Flight is going to look like?
I think it's going to be largely successful by its own terms of definition, and the general public will still describe it as a failure because they'll say it crashed into the ocean.
Oh, they already are. Well,
yeah.
I mean,
no. I mean, I predict now, even if it gets all the way to Hawaii on the next flight, they'll still the mainstream media will still say, well, Elon Musk rocket crashes into ocean. That's going to be the headline, and they'll write it up as the public seeing the headline will interpret that as, he's failed again. Sadly.
I mean, yeah. Does that matter though? Because that's going to happen for
it shouldn't.
Flight 3 will go to the. I mean, I don't know what the orbital parameters for Flight 3 are. I'm assuming they're the same, but I mean, I truly don't know.
I expect so.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I don't know. So don't take that as this is what's happening. I clearly have no idea. I'm making assumptions along with everyone else. So assuming it is the same, then okay, fine. So public says, or what am I trying to say? Media is like, it crashed into the ocean, right? So then. What about flight? It's not going to be a problem anymore, right? Flight, eventually it's going to work. So
exactly.
Are these?
We're incrementally we SpaceX is incrementally getting better and better at making this look like a production vehicle and not something that's been hammered together. If you think back to serial number 1, that presentation back in, I think it was October 2019, something like that. It might have been 2018 even. Serial number 1 now, by comparison, looks like it had been essentially hammered together. It doesn't look well formed through advanced welding techniques, etc. Compare that with the rocket that flew yesterday, and the thing looks, like it's just come off a production line. And you have to assume that advance in we can do this better next time is going to continue.
I think that's kind of the exciting, for me at least, it's the exciting part is you get to watch. How many companies let you watch the design process of their product, right? Can you imagine if Apple did keynotes of like the initial iterations of iPhone and every time they had a breakthrough or like whatever, and then you just got to watch the whole process of them getting from A to B, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yes, but when pirates broke down, they didn't eat the tourists.
What about?
I look forward to the day where news can actually report on it correctly. I've seen news reports that it splashed down in the Pacific Ocean.
That's what
That
happens
was
when
the
you
plan.
fire.
That was the plan.
When I was in school, there was an entire science division of these news organizations, so they wouldn't make these stupid mistakes, right? And like, I mean, that's where Miles O'Brien came from, right? And so, like, they fired, like, all of the major news organizations fired their science teams, and so this is what you end up with. You end up with just kind of this like not correct. I don't know, and and it's interesting. I won't get. Maybe we talk about this in post show. We should talk about mainstream media in post show and like
Yeah.
how it's weird where people will believe the things they want to believe, and then when the news does something that they know is wrong, and they're like, oh no, that's not it. I'll ignore just this one thing, but everything else was true. But just this one thing I'm an expert in. This one thing they're wrong on, and I know they're wrong, but everything else was true. It's like, well, why don't you question everything? Okay, this is a conversation for a show. Sorry, we're getting into that too much. This is supposed to be a happy, fun show about Star Trek. Okay, so let's talk. Why don't we talk future of like humans in space, right? Because we're gonna have, to Andy's point, we're gonna have Flight 3, and it's I believe it's gonna make. We were so close from orbit. We were so close, right? So like, I think I have high. I'm excited for Flight 3, right? But then there's gonna be Flight 4 and Flight 5 and Flight 6, and eventually we're gonna go to the moon, and then we're gonna go onto Mars. So with that in mind, what excites you about the future of Starship beyond these test flights? Why don't we start with Sakura's Light? Why don't we start with you, if that's all right?
Yeah, that's
What
fine.
excites you about the future of all this stuff?
Ooh, I'm looking forward to the Polaris mission on Starship, definitely, because they're going to go up to the first human test flight. That's going to be we know they've got 99.9999999% of the kinks worked out, got all the life support elements, toilets are working, ready to go further into space. To the moon and beyond. They're the guys that are going to make sure, yes, this is working right. So Tim and all the other lot who are going around the moon can have a safe flight, go and experience that thing that a handful of people have only done before. And then beyond that, Mars is, they've got to work all the kinks first. And I'm looking forward to that first flight with Jared Isaacman and crew and see what's going to happen there. But definitely, it's going the right way. More people in space is definitely the answer. Inspiring people to work in STEM and learn physics, mathematics, everything, even down on the ground with video editing, video processing, and showing people everything that is happening is going to help people understand what is now going on and going to continue to happen in future of space.
Out of curiosity, are you a moon first or a Mars first person?
I'm not really fussed which first, but we've been to the moon. We know the moon. We can go back to the moon and get everything hunky dory first. Get ready to move on to Mars. It's going to be a bit of a further travel. It's going to have gravity. It's got more a little bit of an atmosphere to deal with as well. We've also got refueling on the planet, and we've got getting off the planet as well. Because once we get there, we've got to get back off it again and then get back to Earth. Even just transferring people from different craft if needs be, if worst comes to worst. And they only want to use it for one landing, one takeoff, and then even scrapping the vehicle at the cost of Starship. It's not going to be a big amount of expense just to build a new one. We see this when them testing them.
Andy, how about you? Whoa.
Sorry, I'm going to have to duck out for a second.
Sounds good. We won't
Come
go
back.
to you then. Wait. Hang on. I can do this. The chaos. We have to do this. There we go. Oh, now we're squished funny. Ryan, how about you? Because it chose you.
I'm just going to have to second everything. I mean, Jared Isaacman is just like the ultimate nerd. He's a huge nerd. He has loads of money. He does cool stuff. It's just I think that's the best way to describe him. He wants to do the Polaris program. He wants the first human flight in Starship. I mean, he wants to be in it, and there is no way I cannot support what he wants to do. So that his involvement in the future of the program to me is especially exciting. Of course, Dear Moon. How can you not be excited about Dear Moon? I'm definitely a let's get back to the moon and then on to Mars person, because we have been there before, but we haven't been there for over 50 years, and a lot has changed in the world in 50 years. You know, the technology that we have now is far superior to the technology we had 50 years ago, and the moon is definitely going to be a crucial stepping stone to getting to Mars, because neither of the places right now we can live on. So if we can't live on the moon, then I don't know how we're meant to be able to live on Mars. That's just my opinion on it anyway.
That's fair. They are different though, right? Like there are lessons to be learned, but some of those lessons
Yeah.
are not transferable from moon to Mars or Mars to moon.
They're not, but the moon is also a good place to practice on because it's a heck of a lot closer. You can get there in half a week compared to, you have to wait for a proper transfer window to get to Mars.
Sure, makes sense. We also have joining us Jack. Welcome into the show. How about for you? We'll start kind of back at the beginning. What was your what was your feeling for Flight 2? What was it for you like? What was it like for you?
Do I give you the textbook answer or do I give you the honest answer?
The honest answer. Give me the honest answer, always.
Dread. Lots of dread, existential crises, just sheer terror. I mean, we meaning NSF and myself specifically, but basically everybody at NSF really wanted to make Flight 2 better than Flight 1. And so I was trying a lot of different things. Sean was trying a lot of different things. Everybody was trying to do more with remotes and more with the broadcast. And I mean, I'll be frank, a lot of it didn't work. I mean, I think all 5 of my remotes were either dusted out, condensated out, fogged out, or what have you. But yeah, I mean, obviously I was very excited for it, but the lead up to it, there's just so much work to be done and so little sleep to be had, and then you start to lose mental acuity just because you're so tired and stressed. And yeah, I mean, for me, it was just sheer utter terror, just because you want these things to go right. You want to produce awesome imagery. You want to do this historic event justice. And so I guess I put a lot of pressure on myself, but it was awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Isn't that kind of the SpaceX way to do things, right? Like always improving, always better. Always one step. Like you can never do the same thing. You have to continue to improve. Like there's no such thing as perfection, right? So
right, yeah. If we did the same thing as we did for Flight 1, I mean, yeah, it would have been fine. But that's not That's not the way. TM.
Okay, now post-launch. Now that you're on that, not the way. This is not the way. Now that we're post-launch, um, and all of that's because you're right. You're going on. You haven't slept for a day, and like you're purely fueled by
Adrenaline
caffeine drinks
and,
and
and
adrenaline.
caffeine. Yeah.
Yep. Now that you're on the other side of it, you've had at least like a day or so to kind of like get some of your. I mean, by the way, these for those who don't know, who have never done something like this, yeah, you work for, we'll call it 24 plus hours straight, but it's also very mentally taxing, and so you're hammering on your body really really hard, and you don't just recover the next day by sleeping a whole bunch. It takes the better part of a week to fully get all the way back up to 100% again. Like you can probably even hear it in my voice a little bit. Like it's just my body is struggling. I assume it's the same for you. Having said that, now that you're kind of on the other side of it, right? Your body's starting in that heal function. Your brain is starting to get back to normal. Now, what do you think when you look back on it? Without the dread and the terror and the like. Now, how do you feel it went?
For launches like this, I try and tell myself that if I can come out of it with one piece of imagery that I'm happy with, despite setting up however many cameras, despite everything, then I'm happy. And I'm happy.
Are you,
So,
have you shared that image yet? That piece of imagery?
okay, so I was rolling a Canon R5 with a 600 RF prime with a 2x extender from about 4 miles away. So at launch, I was tight on the ship, was my framing.
Do you have a shot of it on your computer that you can share, that you can screen
Yeah,
share?
send me a link or something to drop it. But I've
Oh,
like
you can just
just
screen share.
barely.
There's a screen
Oh,
share button in the thing. Yeah.
okay, hang on. Here. Open system. Oh, come on, Mac.
Oh, never mind. This is
Hang
gonna be
on.
way
Wait,
too.
wait, wait. No, no, no.
No,
I'm
no,
allowed
no.
in Chrome.
We're gonna nope out of this immediately. Well, as soon as you said that, I think it has to close the browser and reopen
It
it for
does.
permission.
It
Yeah, no.
does.
All right.
All right.
That's fine.
Anyways, yeah.
Oh,
So,
better yet, where can people go to see it? Like your X? Did you post it on X? Is it on NASA Spaceflight? Where can other people go to see it?
so I've posted like a frame grab on X. I haven't even posted the video yet. So, uh, yeah, I need to do that. But it is on our live broadcast. We did do replays on our live broadcast of it. But yeah, I'm floored. I mean, 33 engines, perfectly lit, all the way uphill. It was so beautiful. Deluge worked so well that apparently they could open the pad 3 hours after. Like, I wish maybe my GoPro was still recording. I don't know, but I set up a GoPro just like off to the side to just kind of capture the event in terms of like what we were all doing. And we're all hanging out after the launch. We're like dealing with footage and all the whole 9 yards. And then somebody says, hey, the road's open. I just got a road open text. And I like the back and forth between myself and the other people was like, the road's open. Yes. There's no one at the roadblock. No. The road's open. Yes. There's no one at the roadblock. No. Like this, because I couldn't believe it. I was like, it's no. That does not. No. That's Max. But that is an amazing image. Holy cow! World's largest shock diamond. Like what? It's insane. But yeah, I mean, I'm extremely happy. I think we couldn't really ask for that to go much better. It seemed like it got basically really, really, really close to successfully getting to the velocity that we wanted ship to get to. And yeah, booster went boom, but who cares? It'll be a solvable problem. But yeah, just what an amazing launch. Perfect timing of the day. Perfect weather. Like you don't get a lot of those. That was a very special one. Starship Flight 2 will forever be a very, very, very special one for me.
Let's see here if this may not be it.
It's
Wait,
a full stack shot. I think it's cropped
that
portrait.
that's not it.
Wait, where? I don't see it.
Oh,
That's it.
awesome,
That's it.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's a
And
great
please,
shot too.
thank
What
you.
God? Look at just those engines. It's so different than Falcon. It's so different than Falcon.
My very favorite thing is that all 33 engines work together to form a single massive mock diamond, and then those mock diamonds then continue down the rest of the plume. It's just utterly insane. And if I was less exhausted, I would come up with some eloquent thing to say about how when we all work together collectively, we can all make a massive mock diamond for humanity. Whatever, you get it. Like,
Oh, that's the shirt. Mock diamonds for humanity.
I love it. I love it. I really love it. And I wore my mock diamond shirt. I'm still wearing the same shirt. I'm covered in dog hair. So, actually,
Is it dog time?
We're waiting in suspense.
Bacon time.
It
He's
would-
got to sorry, it's bacon. Oh no.
It's dog time.
Puppy!
Leica says hi.
Hello,
Hi.
I
Leica.
like
Don't bite my face.
So
Anyways,
happy.
Biting your face is how it tells you that they love you.
it's honestly, it's true. It's actually true. But yeah, that was just such an amazing launch. You can't really ask for much better than that.
Before we go into future with you, let's head over. Smokey's joined us, so let's head over to what was the launch like for you? What was your experience for flight?
Well, I slept through it, actually. I woke up
You
about
too? Come
Yeah,
on!
I slept
Oh,
through it. I woke up
space
15
nerds.
minutes after Rudd, and then I watched the replay through Tim Dodd. So I just scrolled back about 30 minutes and just watched it as if it was live. And it was it was amazing watching something that big actually get off the pad. I'm old enough that I grew up on Bill Nye the Science Guy, so I've seen the episodes where they have all the stock footage of the rockets exploding in the early space program and just set to funny music. So I'm expecting something like that because it's the second time this booster has flown. But to see it actually go up was, well, holy crap, it actually worked.
What is your view of the future now that you've seen this thing lumber off it does kind of
It's actually
given
moving faster than it looks because it's
Yeah.
so big.
yeah, because it
But
doesn't
it's-
actually lumber. It's just huge.
Yeah, it's like putting your foot to the floor in a drag racer. It's just steadily accelerating upward, but to the outside viewer, it doesn't look that way. As far as the future goes, I'm going to have to quote Yogi Berra. You know, it's hard to make predictions, especially about the future. But it does feel like it's getting a little closer, this idea of actually having people permanently on the moon and maybe using that as a stepping stone to, was it an Aldrin cycler, the vehicle that goes between Earth and Mars? Is it an Aldrin cycler?
Aldrin cycler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have one of those, very much like Hermes from The Martian,
Mm.
or something else that we haven't thought of yet. It's opening doors that I didn't know were actually possible yet.
Let's go to Jack. Your vision of the future.
My vision of the future, that's a really big question. I mean, I want to get to a point where this is all routine, which is wild because our job is to cover this stuff. And if it's that routine, then, will people still care? Will we be putting ourselves out of a job? But really,
look at Starlink launches. Like, look at the viewership on those. Like,
yeah, it's true.
those are routine. They're fairly routine at this point.
Yeah, it's true. So really, I just hope that we can see more of these things launch. I want to go back to the moon. I want to, like, in a meaningful way. I want to go to Mars. I want to launch massive science payloads into Earth orbit, into every single planetary body, and then some. Like, I always say this on stream, like, the human lifespan is woefully short, and I want to see as much knowledge gathered in my lifetime, selfishly, because I want to know things, as possible. And so this system, I hope, will unlock just insane knowledge, and we'll learn as much cool things in our lifetimes as possible. That's the brightest vision for the future that I could ask for.
I love the phrase "back to the moon in a meaningful way," because it's not just
Yeah.
going back to the moon. We've already done that, but going back in a meaningful way, that's incredible. That's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's put a telescope on the far side. Let's put a propellant depot there so you don't have to fuel up Starship in Earth orbit. Let's just do all the things, dang it. Like, let's do it. We've been waiting. We've been waiting so long. We went to the moon in the 60s, and it's just like, where's my flying car? But replace flying car with, like, actually cool future. I'm tired of living in a burnt out dystopian husk and dreading the impending doom of climate change, and like, let's have a nice thing that we can all enjoy and look at and be proud of humanity for doing, and be excited about tomorrow for, like, that. I don't know. It's just, yeah.
You-
Words
you-
words are hard.
yeah.
Would you say it's been a long road getting from there to here?
Yeah. Yes.
Those of you who know, you know.
We know the Star Trek fan in this particular group.
Smokey, stop
Trying
it.
to remember the line right after that. Trying to remember the line right after. You know, I think that was the first Star Trek series to have lyrics in the opening theme, wasn't it?
Huh.
Yeah, it was weird.
Technically,
Yeah.
the very first Star Trek theme, Gene Roddenberry actually wrote lyrics for it. They never aired.
Yeah, I was gonna say they never made it
Because
to
they're
air. That's
terrible.
different. That's different. Well, I think actually a lot of themes. Okay, well, okay, let's put themes into the post show as well, because like, yeah, absolutely, awesome. Like, and then I don't know if we asked you, Smokey. Did I ask Moon or Mars first for you? I've lost track.
No, I
of
don't
who-
think so. I would love to see Mars first, just because that means that I'll get to be alive to see it. But I think practically Moon has to come first. It's a lot closer. It's a lot easier. It's a lot less expensive.
And Jack, I don't think I asked you either. Moon first or Mars first?
I don't care. Let's just go. Let's just go.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, yeah, I would love to go to Mars. It, like, the moon seems like a really good place to practice a lot of things that you need on Mars, and like, I don't care. Let's just go. Let's just frickin' go.
All right. We've got like, yeah, Jared's excited. We've only got about 10 minutes left in the show. So I want to take this last 10 minutes and do predictions for Flight 3. And somebody, I don't have the ability to write these predictions down. So if someone could take notes and send them to me, I want to get a spreadsheet going of all the different predictions, because I think this is fun. Jared, are you taking the notes, or what was that? Oh, are you muted? You are muted, just so you know. And actually, if you're taking the notes, Jared, if you don't mind unmuting, why don't you go first? When do you think Flight 3 is going to fly?
So I think Flight 3 is going to fly probably, I would say, late January, early February, sometime around then. I feel like you got to take time. You really need to take the time to digest the data. It's important to understand failure. It's also incredibly important to understand success. And now that you have a flight that is both successful and has things that didn't work in it, you got to deal with both now. You don't got to deal with one, which was IFT1, which was not great, to say the least, on many things.
The crate will make it.
Yes. So they will. The FAA is going to have to come in. I don't think it is going to be as long an investigation this time, because I think that first investigation was sort of teething with it, and there were some things with that. Also, the fact that the FTS actually, so far it appears the FTS worked as it's supposed to, unlike last time, which was a very big deal, that the FTS didn't activate for minutes. So yeah, I think we're good on that front. I think investigation should be fast. I don't know if the Fish and Wildlife Services comes into play again here. I don't think so, right?
Please God, no.
I think at this point it's going to be late January, early February. I see Starship making it. I'm going to do this again, where I'm going to say that I think it's going to make it to Hawaii, but I don't think it's going to make it through re-entry, simply because you've got to get the tiles right. That is something for re-entry. If you want to do re-entry right, you can have minimum tile damage for that. So.
Was there tile damage on Flight 2? I guess
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Many,
God,
many,
yeah.
many.
I wasn't paying attention that
Oh,
much.
Lordy. Yeah, there were chunks the size of people with missing tiles on it, scattered
Wait, I
all
have
over the
a-
vehicle. So
I have a question though. I mean, the airframe of Starship is not aluminum, right? It's steel. So I know missing tiles bad, but especially for a orbital velocity that's not, it's not coming back from the moon, it's not coming back from Mars. So, like, does missing tiles really matter that much if it's like a flight profile like we've seen planned for Flight 1 and Flight 2, where it'll get to an almost orbital trajectory and then come in? Like, Steel's has a much higher temperature until it starts to get plastic deformation. Can you not chew on my hand, please? She's like, sorry, I checked with the committee. Sorry, no, I'm chewing on your hand. But yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I digress. But I do wonder, if we get to a Starship re-entering with a bunch of tiles missing, but it's not, ow, hey, it's not a super fast velocity. Like, does it survive? I don't know. That's a question for someone smarter than me, but I'm asking.
I was going to say same thing for me, Jack. I'll defer to Dutta because Dutta, I can see you in your eyes. You have words to say. So.
I brought him in.
But I would imagine there's a lot to be done. So with missing tiles, obviously you don't want big groups. Yeah, as Eka's saying, single tile loss should be survivable, but a bunch in one area, not likely, because of the transfer of thermal loads into that there and the eventual plasticity of metal, if you can even think about metal being that way, because it gets so hot. But also, there's something to be said, too, about the airflow or the flow of plasma across the vehicle. You want that to be nice and smooth. You don't want to disturb it. We've talked often about how they did some of the tiles a little bit off on the shuttle during some of the early missions in order to actually measure what that displacement of the tiles would do and just how much more load there was than they were expecting. So we'll have to see.
John, why don't we go to you? When do you think? When orbit?
When orbit? Well, technically, we've already touched orbit, but to actually go full circle, maybe end of next year. So, flight test 3, make it to Hawaii, suborbital. Maybe the one after that, same again, make sure everything's working right, and then go for the full orbit, full speed. Make sure all the heat tiles and everything is staying on. Maybe add a few extra pins to the tiles instead of just having 3. Maybe even making the tiles bigger might help. More surface area and more to attach to. But yeah, I think full orbit, end of next year, I think they'll hit it.
All right, how about when Flight 3?
Ooh. FAA do their investigation early next year, maybe February, maybe March, because it's going to be over winter, Christmas, everyone's going to be on holiday, everyone's going to want to do everything, then they can hit it full speed beginning of next year. And February, I think, would be the time to do the flight test 3. I can't get my letters right today.
Andy, how about you? When Flight 3?
I'm going to say around about Easter time. I think anything sooner still sounds a little bit optimistic, and I think there will be delays that we haven't identified yet, as we've had with IFT2.
All right, Jack. Sorry.
Going back to Mars or Moon first.
Oh yes, I missed that on you. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, sorry, I had a family phone call. I would be tempted to say Apollo 8 or Apollo 9 first. In the end, does it matter? So the goal is to get to Mars, yes, sustainably. But if we get to the vicinity of Mars but don't land, or we go to the moon and test stuff out, but they equally contribute to a safe landing and return from Mars, I don't think it necessarily matters what order they occur in.
So the answer is yes. Just do them all.
Yes, very much so.
All right. Let's head over to Jack. How about you? When Flight 3? When fly?
When fly? I'm going to say February, and I don't know if that's hopelessly optimistic or what, but man, Booster 10 and Ship 28 are hanging out and seemingly really close to being ready to static fire. So if the pad truly is not that damaged, and again, they open the road 3 hours later, which is insane. And like, I can't stress how insane that is. The last flight, the road opened like 3 days later. 3 days, 3 hours. A certain someone loves to use the phrase order of magnitude. So that is an order of magnitude. But yeah, it's just utterly crazy. So if the pad's not that damaged and they have vehicles ready to go, I won't be shocked if we see static fires of booster and ship in like December. Like that wouldn't shock me. So I'm gonna say February, and I hope that is the case because that would be a really like I just want to see it again. I had the same thing after SLS launched. Like I just SLS launched, and I was like, that was awesome. Now I'm sad I have to wait a million years for the next one. Like at least Starship isn't doing that. 7 months between flights, not bad at all. Now let's make it 3 months.
Yeah. It's compressing,
Yeah,
right? It's compressing.
right, and it's gonna have to, right? Because we have to launch enough ships to refuel for basically every application except for satellite deployment in low Earth orbit. So uh, we need to get to a point where these things are launchable, like fast. So I'm gonna say February.
February. All right, Smokey, you're
Oh,
up.
and I just tweeted the video, by the way.
Oh,
Or
great.
part of the video.
Oh, you should give everyone your Twitter.
It's the Jack Buyer. And if you want, I just hit 10,000 followers on Instagram, which has been a long time coming. So I'm Neon Heat Disease on Instagram, all one word. It's a King Crimson reference.
That's a great name. That is a great name. So IFC3. I'm kind of split between what Jared and Jack said. I think if everything went perfectly, no problems, the FAA came back and said everything worked fine, you're good to go, it would probably be late January at the best. But considering it's spaceflight is hard. It's a brand new rocket. There are always going to be problems. It's going to slide to the right. I would guess probably late February, mid-March at the earliest possible opportunity. That's my guess.
You want to know what's interesting is I feel like after Flight 1, everyone was like, oh, that's the only flight for this year. They nuked the pad. They can't go again this year. There's no possible way this is happening in 2023. SpaceX is going maybe in 2024. And here we are in 2023. And now everyone's like, oh, yeah, no, it's like a month away. The next
Well,
they
it is indeed because of the damage to the pad.
I was one of the doubters. I
was convinced that the damage to the pad, because of how much it dug out and it started letting seawater in, that it was going to cause additional structural problems that they would have to address. But they got in there and fixed it really fast. So,
all right, Ryan, how about you? When do you think Flight 3?
I'm going to give you a whole timeline here. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Jared,
you understand. So you understand how it works out in my head. I
ain't doing timelines. You make it simple. So,
in my opinion, we don't need entirely new launch pad infrastructure this time. I think, like, honestly, a lick of paint, brush the concrete with a broom, sweep it up. You're probably good to go. Maybe refurbish a couple pipes here and there, maybe. But we don't need an entirely new steel flare deflector system, right? So I think that means the FAA mishap report will be completed quicker. At least that's what I'm hoping. So I think a realistic timeline, in my opinion, would be December for the first static fire tests of Ship and Booster, Ship 28 and Booster 10. January, late January, early February for the wrapping up of that FAA mishap report, which SpaceX will identify all the things that went wrong, how they're going to fix them. And then late February, going into March for the first actual launch attempt for Flight 3. But I think the entire mishap report should be wrapped up much quicker than it was for Flight 1, considering how much less damage the booster actually did to the pad and surrounding infrastructure. Everything that quote unquote went wrong with this flight happened like many minutes into flight. The booster exploded after stage separation. The ship exploded just before SECO. So there shouldn't be any ground-based investigations that need to take place because there wasn't anything that went wrong on the ground.
So what's the final answer then?
The final answer is first attempt around mid to late February or early March. That sort of month.
All right.
I don't.
Sorry, I can hear jets. I got. Hey,
Typical
Not a
day at
jet cam.
Starbase. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. I think. All right, we good? Is this the awkward end of the show? Is that what's going on now?
It must be. I've just
It
brought
feels
up
like we're wrapping
Starbase
up. Are we
Live.
wrapping up? It feels like we're wrapping up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's time to go to the member show, and like, I think hopefully everyone had fun with the call-in show. I enjoyed it. I love bringing in members of the space community to just nerd out over space and just like give our opinions. I would love to do this more often if you guys want to call in, and it's pretty cool that thank you all for actually calling in. It's not a lot of people actually like to have their voice and video up in a live stream, and like it was really amazing for all of you. Thank you very much for coming in, and I hope we can do this more often. I hope more of our members of tomorrow are willing to join in on the show live. I think it's pretty awesome. Hopefully everyone can hear me, so continue to give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me. Thank you to all of our members who helped to make these shows happen. We're going to be going into our member show after this. Any member level, be it one of the names you see on the screen here, or there's also a system support level. Any member level is eligible to watch the post show, which will be happening in just a few minutes. The link for that show is in the description. We've also just tweeted it out about like 10 minutes ago or so. And so it's just another place where we just kind of, we get together and we just kind of nerd out and we just have fun. It's similar to this, but not necessarily space-based. It's just, after you've got a launch, you want to just kind of like decompress. It's like the post-launch show decompression, right? Like it's just a place to go. And again, thank you to everyone who joined in on this episode. I almost didn't make it today because I'm just so exhausted. I'm just mentally spent, but I really wanted to share these moments with you guys, and I hope you had a lot of fun. So on that note, thank you all for showing up. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and we will see you next week.